If it hurts, game the brakes, no get you, don't let up, put on more speed. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, through the game, tap, this win it in. Press it again, we're here for the breaks made. Everybody keep it there for 60 minutes.
We've got to raise the bar, and we've got to continue to raise the bar. I don't think any of those young men, when they signed to come to Tennessee, they signed to say they wanted to come and be a part of a 7-6 program. All right, they said they wanted to come and compete for championships, SEC championships, national championships. I know that's what I want. I know that's what Tennessee wants. I know that's what the expectation is. So we've got to continue to reassess everything that we're doing and make sure that we're continuing to move the needle in the right direction.
You know, I think a lot like this will really, light a fire under anybody. I know me personally, like this feeling and the way this feels, like I'm not going to take this lightly. And I think everybody else on the offense will fall in line on that. So hopefully moving forward there won't be, laboring days or nights. Not that it will be perfect, but we're going to work for it.
And Peyton Manning said it best year one when we got here. He looked at Coach Heupel and he goes, man, if the Colts lose, I'm all right. If the Broncos lose, I'm good. He goes, but if the Vols lose on Saturday, it hurts my soul. And there's a lot of other people. There's 103,000 people every Saturday who will say the same thing, and there's probably a million more watching at home. So it's important here, and those guys feel that.
Do you remember when we fell in love? I remember, don't worry. Do you remember? I remember how it all began. How could I ever forget? It's the first time. Do you remember? I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air now. I can feel it. I can feel it, I can feel it coming in the air now. Oh, we fell in love. You remember the time? How could I ever forget? You remember the time? Oh, we fell in love. You remember the time? How could I ever forget? Coming in the air now.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Group therapy continues. I feel like we had therapy Saturday night. We had therapy Sunday night. Here we are bright and early on a Monday morning, and we're going to continue this group therapy session. Let's come on in, smash the thumbs up. You guys know the deal. Share this link out. Let people know we're live. We got Eric Cain coming on here in just a moment. BVD is going to be on the back half of the show. We got a lot to talk about. C. Andrews is in the house. Says the O-line was garbage. Defense played the dreaded zone on a quarterback that should have been pressured the whole night. Man, oh man, I couldn't agree more with that. Coach Jay's in the house. How have I tricked Coach Jay into being an employee of the Talkin VAWLS Network, but also paying me on a monthly basis? Shout out to the coach for being a member for 11 months, reminding you guys how we need to go about tackling. Who else we got in the chat here? Don is here. Tim Bradley, the enforcer of the Talkin VAWLS Network, is here. Boogie's App State hat is in the chat. That's good to see. Nate Pruitt is here, says good morning, Vols. Hope everyone has a great Monday. We're going to try. We're going to give it a good 63 effort is what we're going to try to do today. Papa J is in the house. Hondo T is here, guys. Come on in, smash the thumbs up. You know what to do. Got a couple of super chats I'll hit right out of the gate. Noah James for 2 says Dorfy needs to nuts this week in practice. Yeah, let's just go to practice and let's tackle. Let's tackle all day long. That's it. We don't need a game plan. We don't need schemes. Let's just go learn how to tackle. VFL Logan for 10 said I would stay away, but I just can't. Ready to move on. I still believe this team can beat Kentucky, Bama, and A&M, just except Florida, as a forever L and move on. Man, we are suffering. We are a miserable fan base right now. Papa J for 5 said it before spring practice. This year's team would be interesting, but next year's team will be exciting. Having Cooper back will help. GBO. Parker for 2, thank you for the super chat. Have we lost our locker room? Our pets' heads are falling off. That's what always happens when you lose. Let's get Cainer on here. Let's ask him the hard-hitting questions.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cainer, it's funny, man. It's funny how one loss, the locker room's falling apart. Josh Heupel's no longer an effective coach. People are getting arrested. People are getting fired. Our pets' heads are falling off. How are we feeling on this Monday morning?
Annoyed. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. It's always so funny, when people get mad and they lash out and they say, well, you don't care if Tennessee wins or loses. You actually prefer when Tennessee loses. You're not a real Tennessee fan. It's like, be in our shoes. Like, when Tennessee loses, it's so much worse because, in the nicest way possible, we have to deal with grown-ass men who act like children, okay? And it's just, ugh. But I get the frustrations. I do. Yeah. I understand the questions and the sometimes the outlandish questions. I get it. I mean, what you saw down there at Florida, I mean, that was awful. I mean, that was not good enough. You got embarrassed. You got your tail whipped. So I get it. I think that it is kind of funny because after every single loss, it is, the locker room's gone, the culture's gone, all that type of stuff. I think you're 3 games into the season. How this team responds is how you answer that question. But I get the frustrations. I get it. I don't have any sympathy, or I don't not have sympathy towards that because that product was just not good enough. So we'll see how Tennessee responds. But, man, it was another trip down to the swamp and not a good one. Tennessee's had a few of those, more than a few of those, unfortunately, since 2003.
That's my bullet point number 1 I added as the intro was playing is how do they respond to this adversity? Well, because, it was something I talked about to death in the offseason was the Florida game for me was circled. I thought this was a very important game. If you're going to go try to win 9 or 10 games, or their goal is to go win the East, and that's still their goal, right? That is still their goal. People are mad at me saying, Boogie, the East, we're going to win 6 games. What are you talking about? If that's not this football team's goal, we got major problems. That should still be the goal. It's still attainable. So how do they bounce back and respond? And I talked a lot about Joe Milton, right? And is being a leader of this football team. How do they respond to his leadership style? The way people are mad at him because he's always laughing. Is that insecurity? What is it about Joe Milton? And it's not just Joe. How do the coaches respond? Josh Heupel was pissed off after the game, and he should be. I like that. I want some fire in Josh Heupel. How do the seniors respond? The upperclassmen, but Joe Milton. It's a good week. It's a good week to bounce back. How do you think leadership responds to this adversity they're facing right now?
We're going to see it. I mean, somebody in the comment section right now was about how you respond against Austin Peay as well. And I agree with that. But, Florida is an SEC opponent. You're on the road. You're a house of horrors. You can't win there. It's a little bit different than coming back home playing UTSA. But I do understand. I just think we're going to see what type of leadership this team has. Ask Aaron Beasley, ask Joe Milton, ask Brew McCoy after the game, kind of, what was said in the locker room. Like, I understand, like, it's not good vibes. People are pissed off. It's an emotional game. You didn't play well. And all 3 of them kind of just said, hey, we just talked about, hey, we got to stay together. We got to stay together. It is a long season. I mean, you're just through 3 games. So it is a long season. You got to stay together. And to your point, go and win football games. I mean, your goal shouldn't change because you lost at Florida. You need to act like you're still trying to win the East. It's a long season. Anything can happen. South Carolina, who comes to Neyland Stadium in a couple of weeks, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But I mean, made Georgia look very pedestrian. It's football. The SEC's down this year. You don't know what can happen. So we'll see exactly what happens. It's going got to get a lot better. So leadership, I mean, the offensive line has got to get better. I mean, it's not good enough, and quarterback play is not good enough, and I recognize that. The offense overall is not good enough, but in my humble opinion, I truly believe the offensive line is affecting the play calling right now. Everybody's saying, well, this offense doesn't trust Joe. This offense doesn't trust Joe. That's what they call it. And maybe some of that can be true, but I think a lot of that is just the offensive line is not – there's not a lot of faith in the offensive play callers right now to protect your quarterback and give yourself a chance to get the ball downfield. So, that's got to get better. You need to get your center back. Gerald Mincy needs to play right tackle, and you'll see what you got.
Let's talk about the offense. Let's be honest. Let's talk about what is said behind the scenes, off air, via text message. What did I tell you I was going to do if Joe Milton went down to the swamp, played bad, and Tennessee lost? Tell the people what I told Eric Cain I was going to do.
You want me to say it?
Yes, exactly what I said.
Going full Nico.
I said I was full
Nico.
steam ahead on Nico as a content creator. What I watched Saturday in the swamp, I can't do that. This is not just on Joe Milton. And I thought Joe, obviously the interception sticks out, right? But on the flip side of that, the entire inside of the offensive line got destroyed. Joe's trying to make a play. Yes, he shouldn't have thrown it up like he did. It is what it is. He made a mistake. Joe played pretty good football in the swamp. To me, the play calling is very, very conservative right now. So what is it about the offense? I've got several things to talk about with this offense. You mentioned the offensive line play. Cooper Mays being out. Gerald Mincy. I don't understand why you're playing him on PATs. You guys talked about this in the Rocky Top Rewind. It makes no sense to me. If he's suspended, don't let him play. Are you hoping that it doesn't come out? Guess what? The media is going to find out. They're like Batman out here, Detective Comics, looking for something. Oh, Gerald Mincy's just on PATs? Let me go to Google and figure out why. It's going to come out. That's the way it is. But there's so many layers here. Alex Golish gone. How much is that a factor? Offensive line play calling. Break down this offense. What does Tennessee need to do to get back on track?
I mean, a lot. You got to run the football effectively. And again, it all starts up front. But Tennessee ran the football so well in week 1 and week 2, and you thought that was a strength. And it's like Tennessee didn't remember. It's like Tennessee forgot, or Roger Clemens style misremembered that, Jalen Wright on the football team in the second quarter. When things are going your way and when you can't get a snap off because of procedural issues and you're behind the sticks, I get it. You need to make some plays, but Jalen Wright is right there. And third quarter, when you're down 26-7 or whatever it is, and then you start giving the football to Jalen Wright, and that clock is going and the game is just speeding away. I mean, he ran hard. I thought he showed a lot of strain and effort there in the third quarter, and I was impressed by that. But you're down 26-7. Do what you do best and run the football. Tennessee couldn't run the football against the light box. It was an extremely light box, and Tennessee still couldn't get it done. I mean, Georgia didn't blitz an awful lot. They played well with their front four, and they stopped the run, and they got to Joe Milton a lot. So I think it starts with the run for sure. And of course, with the offensive line, they're just trying to figure it out. It looks like Andre Carey's your left guard. Looks like John Campbell's your left tackle. We knew that one. Ollie Lane, I don't think, had a very good game. I don't think J.J. Crawford had a good game. I don't think Javonte Spraggins had a good game. He's got about, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 holds in the last 7 quarters. I mean, it's kind of getting up there. So, I mean, you got to fix some things up front. And again, this is not saying, oh, well, Joe's not the issue. It's everybody else. I mean, Joe's got to play better. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm sitting there watching that game, and I'm like, I mean, good grief, help the guy out a little bit. You put Nico back there like everybody wants to, and I understand. He's the NIL guy. He's the number 1 player in the country, according to On3's 5-star. I get it. I think Nico's going to be good. But, I mean, you put Nico, in there right now or in there on Saturday, and, I mean, I'm not sure that the result would change much more right now. So, Joe's got to play better. At the end of the day, the procedural penalties, it is loud. Tennessee, I wrote about this. Tennessee's not handled the road well here lately. South Carolina last year, Georgia last year, Florida, this past weekend. And it was loud there. I mean, it was really loud. I was talking to some Florida beat writers. They said, I can't remember the last time it's been this loud. It was loud here tonight. It doesn't matter, though, whether it's the offensive line or whatever. As a quarterback, you got to take control of that situation. It kind of all falls on your shoulders. So everybody top to bottom, it's just got to get better. So to answer your question, I don't know. A lot's got to change, but I'm not a football coach. I would start with running the football and kind of going from there, and it's a good week to do that with UTSA.
Got a super chat here from Parker Townsend for 2. Appreciate that, brother. Turrentine got arrested. I don't think that's true. Unless it happened within the last 14 minutes. I I've not seen anything about that.
Again, I don't pretend to know everything, but I've not heard that.
Now you're making Eric panic. The phone's coming out.
I'm
already
texting
Googled
people
it.
right now.
I already Googled it, so I don't think that is accurate. But I do appreciate the super chat, guys. We got 270 people watching on this Monday morning. I know people are still pissed off and frustrated, and I get it. That's what we're here to do, is talk about it, break it down, have a little group therapy around here. The only where I'm at on Nico is, Joe Milton didn't play bad, but how many times have we come in and said, well, Joe didn't play bad? Virginia, I thought Joe played pretty good. You never come in and say, Joe balled out. Joe absolutely dominated that game, whereas maybe Nico can be that guy. And I get it. He's a freshman. On the flip side, my orange-tinted glasses are saying, hey, this is the number one player. Everything you just rattled off, number one player in the country, generational talent. It's all there. Can Nico come in and be a gamer? And that's what I thought Hendon was, right? Hendon was a gamer. Hendon could go out, put the team on his back, and go win a football. Go win a football game. Can Nico be that guy? I don't know. We'll find out. You mentioned penalties. You mentioned for me, it was such a weird start to the football game, and I know Florida fans, that's just an excuse. We came out, we dominated, we whipped your ass up front. Right, congratulations, because Florida, I thought, had a good game plan, and then they took their foot off the gas, and I think that's why Tennessee kind of bounced back a little in the second half. But we talked about the first 8 and the middle 8. How important was the first 8 in this football game? Right out of the gate, we're going, okay, let's go. 14-play drive by Florida, but you blocked the field goal. And it's like somebody got mad at me for saying bend but don't break. That's the definition. Bend but don't break. You make a play on special teams. Now you go right down the field and score. I thought they settled in Joe nicely. Couple of easy little throws. Made a nice swing pass. They go down, touchdown. Great. Oh, man, I like the shot. I like the shot to Squirrel. And then the fade to Keaton. Again, Joe Milton's making great throws. Tennessee's up 7-0, and then Florida rattles off 4 straight touchdown drives. Tennessee can't answer, but they were behind the sticks every single drive. Those next 3 drives, as Florida responds with 4 touchdowns, Tennessee has 2 false starts and a snap infraction on Ollie Lane. They have to clean these mistakes up. They have to.
No, they do, no doubt about it. And, bend but not break, even if the Tennessee defense gave up a field goal in that situation on that opening drive, you take that. You know why? Because it was 14 plays, and Florida was moving the ball down the field. It looked like they were going to score with these, but it was 14 plays. You took 7 minutes off the clock, and if you escape that just with a field goal, you take it. But, you got that block, and it was nothing. And Tennessee was able to go down there and flip the field and go and score, and that was great. I thought Florida did a good job of getting Eugene Wilson III active early with those shovel passes, allowing Graham Mertz to kind of feel good about himself as well and kind of build some confidence. And there's some nice, easy plays, working lateral, sideways, if you will. And they were able to move the ball down the field. But Tennessee responded. Again, Joe Milton started off really, really well. 4-4 on that drive, good touch on his throws and all that. And then you're sitting there and you're feeling pretty good. It just all goes downhill with that 62-yard run for Trevor Etienne. And, there was a missed tackle. I believe it was Tamari McDonald. I could
never see the number. I watched that play 5 times and could never see the number.
Yeah. But there was a missed tackle there, and then, of course, we know about Kamal Hadden. We're sitting here on this podcast, on this show last week, and we're like, take cover. Thought Kamal Hadden played pretty well. He's doing, and then you just have a play like that. It's like, what are you doing? And what's bad, Boogie, is Hadden did the same thing last year at Neyland Stadium against Florida, if you remember. He went in for the hit, didn't wrap up against Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall spins off it and scores a touchdown. It's like, what are you doing? And so, you get a play like that, and Florida just gets in this football game, and that crowd got loud and did not get quiet again. And then that led to, not being able to make a stop. 7 of 8 on 3rd downs for Florida's offense in the first half, which is just atrocious. And then in the second half, I think, Tennessee played better. I like the effort defensively and all that, but you're exactly right. Florida took the, foot off the gas a little bit. I think Graham Mertz, I didn't watch the broadcast until I went back and rewatched some of it. Looked like he, got cleated on his hand. He was bleeding a little bit, and they were just handing it off and all that. But at that point, it's 26-7. You're feeling good about yourself. So that I go back to that run, 62-yard run for Trevor Etienne. That changed everything, and not in a good way for Tennessee. And if you make that tackle, maybe Florida scores anyway. But just that type of play and that type of effort from Tennessee's secondary, just not good. And I think that's when everything changed.
Yeah, that kind of that fired up Florida. Like I said, don't give them a reason to get excited. And man, I thought just the start, it's like, all right, here we go. This is exactly what Tennessee needs. But then the way Florida responded, and again, those Gator fans out there that want to yell and scream about whatever I say, they responded. And kudos to Florida for the way they played. I still think they suck, and I still think they're going to have a very difficult year. So keep yelling at me, Florida fans. You're going to find out what you're made of. And if you prove me wrong, great. I'm sure you'll be right back here to let me know. Man, I never know how to pronounce this name. O'Brady. I'm going to say O'Brady. O'Brady, how art thou? $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Hell, I can tell you what happened. Our offensive line put us behind the sticks and lost our momentum. They did. It's what we just said, man. 3 drives in a row after that first touchdown drive. And I know we're complaining about play calling, and I'm still sticking to that. I don't like the play calling right now. I wish they would take more shots. I think you finally got to see what Dante Thornton can do. What a dime that was by Joe Milton. And I like that they went to Thornton. He didn't really go up and make a play, and then you go right back to him the very next play, and just Milton drops a dime. I think both sides of the ball. I'll stick with offense here because that's what we're talking about. Be more aggressive. Take your shots down the field. But then defensively, Cainer, very soft game plan to me. Played a lot of zone, and Mertz. I thought if you pressured Mertz, he was going to make mistakes. They just let Mertz run around in the backfield like it's backyard football, just roll him out of the pocket, and Tennessee's secondary breaks down. They find holes in the zone. Well, when is this team going to step up, play press man, and say, if you beat us, screw it, you beat us, because otherwise they're just going to dink and dunk you down the field?
Yeah, I won on Saturday. A lot of misdirection, a lot of motion. Recognizing that Tennessee's got some young linebackers playing. Elijah Herron, a sophomore. You had, of course, Arian Carter in there some. You had Caleb Perry. They went more of a traditional 4-3, taking the star out at some situations because they were playing so much there at the line of scrimmage. I had the Pro Football Focus stuff pulled up. I'm not going to try to do that again. I did that on our podcast the other day, and I talked and rambled for like 60 seconds before I actually got what I could pull up. But Graham Mertz, I don't think he attempted a pass 20 yards down the field all night. I think he attempted like maybe 5 or 6 passes, 10 to 20. He completed 20 passes in the first half. He had 20 attempts. He had 24 overall attempts in the game. And I want to say like 20 of those attempts were like 0 to 10 yards, within 10 yards. And it was making Tennessee's linebackers and star players move. And that was not great. Tennessee was playing with 2 safeties and trying to keep everything in front of it, and did not deal with the motion, all that. And Graham Mertz, you're not asking him to be Superman. You're asking him to be very ordinary and just like essentially a game manager. And he did that, and he did well. He converted on a couple of third downs, and it was just not a good look for Tennessee whatsoever. So the tape's out there. All that pre-snap movement and all that, and South Carolina's going to do that. A&M's going to do a lot of that, trying to confuse these guys. And Tennessee's got to respond to it a little bit better. It was a good game plan for Florida, and Tennessee just obviously didn't execute.
How do you feel moving forward now? We've been, I feel like it's all ifs, ands, and buts. Virginia, not a good football team. Austin Peay, not a good football team. We're on here as late as Wednesday last week still talking about Austin Peay. A lot of people are getting pissed saying, hey, we overlooked him. It's always excuses. Then you go and you play an SEC team and you get exposed. 16 points is not going to cut it. Josh Heupel needs to get this thing figured out on offense. How does that change your outlook on the rest of the season? Knowing what we know now, you can go back to the fall, you can go back to the summer, to the spring, when we do all these 4,000 expectation type shows. What are you going to change it to moving forward?
Well, before the season started, you and I both had Tennessee at 9-3 because I had Tennessee losing in Tuscaloosa, not quite there against Georgia, and then at some point along the way, you're going to stub your toe. Is that on the road at Florida? At the time, I said I don't think so, and I held to that. So did you up until last week, until they kicked it off down in Gainesville. I didn't think it was going to be on the road at Florida. Was it going to be at home against South Carolina, at A&M, or at home against A&M? Is it going to be on the road against Kentucky? We didn't know, but at some point Tennessee was going to stub its toe and lose a game that it's favored in. And so in terms of win-loss projections, in terms of what I said, it's still very much in play. But again, I just kind of go back to the product that was on the field, not being able to handle the road environment. You don't think it's going to be tough in Tuscaloosa? You don't think it's going to be tough? And everybody laugh with me here, but it's going to be loud at Kroger. It's going to be loud at Kentucky. It's going to be tough. And Tennessee, can you handle the road atmosphere? Can you figure some things out on the offensive line? Can you figure some things out in terms of play calling to play for Joe's strength? And Joe Milton, can you play better? And can you put it all together and be the leader of this football team? If Tennessee has that type of offensive effort, then you're going to lose a couple more games. And that's how about overall effort. Offense, defense, I mean, it was bad. If you had that type of effort that you saw on Saturday, you're going to lose some more games because, quite frankly, there's some better teams than you out there right now. So, we'll see. But, again, I just think that you can correct some things. You get back some guys on the offensive line to settle some things down. Joe Milton settles down and gets more confident, and you start taking some more shots and completing some more shots. You run the football, which is the strength of this football team. And then defensively, you tackle and wrap up. I mean, if Tennessee missed 11 tackles on Saturday. 10 of those missed tackles were from members of the secondary. Also, the front line did not get as much of a rush. Had 7 TFLs, only 1 sack, only 1 QB hurry. You've got to affect the passer, and Tennessee didn't do that enough on Saturday, and of course it affected the back end as well. So I don't know, man. I mean, obviously I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, that's going to be the only one. Tennessee's going to win out. The games are supposed to finish 9-3. I mean, after seeing that product on Saturday, I don't know. I think Tennessee's better than that. I do. But we got to see it, and we're not going to see it for at least 2. I mean, you want to see improved play this weekend, but of course the true test is going to be against South Carolina here in 2 weeks.
I'm going to go back to it because for the fans, by the fans, right? We act like lunatics here. We drag you guys in the media through the mud and make you answer the hard-hitting questions. But the reason I want to talk about it, Joe Milton, again, he's played well. You're talking about a 6th-year senior, and I'm going to fire one off at Brent Hubbs. Again, I like to watch the Rocky Top Rewind while I'm getting everything set up. Then I watched your show while I was still getting everything set up. I've been up since about 6:30 getting everything ready for the show. But Hubbs gave him an out. Talked about how Joe Milton's only started X number of games, right? I don't care. You're a 6-year senior. The expectation is up here. It's not, oh, well, you've only started a few games. Yeah, you've only started a few games because you got benched. And again, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't care. You got benched at Michigan. You transferred to Tennessee. You got benched at Tennessee. So you've not started many games because you've been getting benched when you've won the starting position. And look, I get it. I don't like calling kids out, but when you're the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee, there's a certain standard that you got to live up to. And Joe has been good, but not great. And I'm not saying it's time to bench Joe. We had that conversation at the top of the show. What I'm asking you, Cainer, is when. And I asked this question last week. When is it time? When do you fold and say, all right, we're rolling with the $8 million man. We're rolling with the 5-star. We're rolling with the generational talent. We're rolling with the number 1 player in the class of 2023. When do you roll him out there? Is it based on wins and losses? Is it based on Joe not getting where you want him to be? When do you pull the trigger?
I think it's more than anything, unless you get towards the end of the year and it's simply like the losses are piling up and, maybe you have bowl. Again, this is worst case scenario. Maybe you have bowl, status wrapped up, but still the wins and losses aren't great. Then maybe you just turn to youth. I think more than anything, if it gets to that point and you truly are having that conversation, which, let me be clear, that's not happening right now.
Not at all.
It's not happening. It's about Joe Milton. It's about his ability to run this offense. It's about where he is playing right now and what he's given this team. Is it good enough, or can Nico potentially do better? Or, maybe not as well as Joe at this point in time, but, he can do it adequately enough and learn and get some experience. I think that's more of the conversation. Again, you go down, we talked last week and said, if Tennessee goes down, loses, gets embarrassed, and Joe Milton plays bad, boy, the screams are going to be loud. And they are loud right now. But as we have pointed out, there was so much going on in that football game. I can rattle off so many different things before I even mention Joe Milton's name, but at the end of the day,
right,
16 points is not good enough. 5 procedural penalties is not good enough when you're the starting quarterback of this team. So does that continue to stay around on road games? He's not much of a turnover guy. He had his first turnover this past week, but do the turnovers start to pile up? Is he making the wrong decisions? That's something Joe, go back to the Jarrett Carantano days. Everybody, has PSD from that. I get it. But Jarrett made wrong decisions to put the ball in jeopardy so many times. Joe doesn't do that. We can sit here and say his first interception was the other day. Everybody's saying, oh, eat it. Take the sack. I get it. And maybe in hindsight you should have done that. But dude's getting crushed from the interior by a 420-pound guy, and you had a guy open for a split second, and you're trying to get the ball to him, and you get hit. It's easy in hindsight to say, yeah, sure, take the sack, but he's trying to make a play. But if Joe Milton is making wrong decisions, if he is turning the football over, then that's when you go to Nico. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't want Nico playing behind that offensive line right now. That's for damn sure. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You got to fix some things up front. I'm being really hard on the offensive line, but it just kind of is the nature of it right now. And I think it will get better for sure when you get guys healthy. But if those things start to pile up, and of course the wins are not there, then I think it's an obvious choice you make a change. But not there yet. Not happening right now, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are just saying, oh, I'll put it in there, but it's just not there yet. It's not going to happen right now.
It kind of goes back to me, again, the coaching staff, this football team, their goal is to still go win the East.
Yeah.
Now, fans, we freak out and we panic and say the season's over. Let's roll with Nico. So, like you said, I think that the main thing a lot of people need to grasp and understand is it ain't happening right now. Joe Milton is going to be trotted out there against UTSA, no questions asked. But it's still, I like to have the conversation. I like to continue to have the conversation. That's what we do, right? We get in front of microphones and talk every single day. Speaking of that, always appreciate you coming on. What do you got going on over at Locked On Vols this week and going on at VolQuest? I know you're always busy, man. What do you got coming up?
Hey, those hate clicks are real. We're on Sunday and hopefully on Monday, right? But we're just going to continue to look at that Florida game, what went wrong, and what this means moving forward for Tennessee. Are those goals still attainable? Winning the East, winning 9 to 10 games. If so, what needs to happen? What's got to change? What can we look forward to this week to try to get back on track? All that at Locked On Vols. VolQuest.com. Of course, got Josh Heupel coming up at 12:15 later this morning. He will tie a bow on Florida, and of course gets tons of questions about Florida, and I'll be the only one in the press conference that asks about UTSA because I have a column coming out later tonight. But we'll start looking forward to UTSA getting back at Neyland Stadium, and we'll have all that coverage at VolQuest.com and at Locked On Vols.
Why don't you ask him about Nico?
Yeah, because I don't want him to look at me like I'm an idiot, and then not lose access, but have a conversation essentially, off the record. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I know. I should have done that.
Yeah, you got other agendas like writing an article for VolQuest. Always a good time, brother. Appreciate you coming on. We'll catch you up later this week.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
All right, later, buddy. All right, we still got 300 and some people watching live. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We got BVD coming up on the back half of the show. Look, we kind of broke down the game a little bit there, and I think we're probably going to get emotional in this back half. I think we're going to talk like emotional, pissed off, destroyed fans. I don't know. That's just me speculating. But guys, do me a favor here halfway through the show. If you haven't already, smash the thumbs up just below the video. If you're new here, welcome. We're not experts. We're not insiders. I'm not a media guy. Look, I don't pretend to be a media guy, but I've got a great relationship with people like Cain, Ben McKee, the guys at A to Z Sports. We get a lot of different voices on this channel. That's what my goal is to bring you as many different opinions as we can get, because look, I know that a lot of you guys are ready to roll with Nico, and I'm right there on the fence. I'm a fence rider. I'm sitting right there on the fence saying, am I ready to pull the trigger? I've got the little devil in my ear, Coach Jay. I see him down there in the chat getting y'all all riled up saying, Boogie, he's going to be great. We need to roll with Nico. He's the next thing. And so then I start believing that, and then I get other people on here, and they're like, he's not ready, he's a freshman. Then I start believing that. But that's the goal of this thing, is to get as many people on here and get as many different opinions as we can as a community. But if you're new here, smash that thumbs up and subscribe. Tons of content coming your way this week. Also, go check out the merch. You can go to bonfire.com/store/talkinballs. It's not too late to get Gator Hater merch. They may have won the game. We still hate them. It is what it is. The links to that is in the description. Also, man, we had a great fan call-in show last night. You guys all come on the show. You're angry. You're yelling. You're screaming. It's always a good time. You want to be a part of those. We do them every Sunday night at 7. We do them every game day an hour before kickoff. You can hit the join button down below. It's just $1. As little as $1 a month. The more you give, the quicker you get on the show. Look, just like Rob, right on cue here. Rob Sweet becomes a member of the channel. I appreciate that. That's how we do this thing. That's what allows us to bring you content every day, is the members of the channel. So if you like it, you're thinking about joining the channel, jump on there. You get a Power T beside your name, custom Talkin VAWLS emojis, all kinds of fun perks and benefits, and we would appreciate it. Yeah, so thank you, Rob, for becoming a member of the channel. Let's see. We got another super chat here. The Real Hank for 2. The titty tackle from Haddon cost us the game. Terrible. And it just, like Cainer said there, it just kind of swung momentum in their way. All right, let's get BVD in the house. Let's get emotional. I know BVD's upset. He's talking to his friends off camera. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Hey, hang on one second. Yeah, I tell you what, you better get your ass, your butt in gear today and get those flares making tackles. All right, now get out of here. Sorry, I was talking to Coach Heupel.
You're going to make him wait on you. You said I got to do Talkin VAWLS first, and then you're going to come
exactly.
in. Right.
I told him I'd get back to him later today. Hey, what's going on, Boogie? How's everything going this morning?
Oh, man, you know how it is. Doing YouTube, we had the text yesterday from Sports Talk Jay. when you do YouTube and Tennessee's winning, it's a whole lot more fun than when you do YouTube and Tennessee sucks. What are your just overall thoughts, emotional reactions coming out of the loss?
Well, first of all, I think we might need to get Jay some mental help, maybe, or some kind of help to get him out of this. Hey, look, I was okay about 9 hours ago with this because on my show last night, I was full Nico. I've made all kinds of Coach Jay references to everybody I've talked to. I was out on the practice field with the Greenville team yesterday telling anybody I could talk to it's Nico time. Coach actually agreed with me, by the way, the Greenville coach. But anyway, yeah, Coach Jay's got us convinced that Nico is the man, and he might be. But like you guys just said on here, it's not happening anytime soon. Barring, I don't want to say the I word, but barring something bad happening to Joe, aside from one interception that could have happened to any quarterback in the history of football, it's not happening. Look, it's one game, and I've been preaching to my boy Octavian, all the Florida fans on here. You guys still suck. Nobody should be surprised, Boogie, that Florida came out and played their tails off against Tennessee in the swamp. Anybody surprised by that has never watched a Tennessee-Florida game in the history of ever. And what is it now? 18 out of 20 or something like that they beat us? We just can't beat Florida. It's time to realize it. Until we do beat Florida somewhere besides Neyland Stadium, when this game rolls around, I personally am just going to go ahead and chalk it up as an L until we prove otherwise.
It's funny, their fans saying, well, you all say Florida sucks. What does that mean about you? It means Tennessee sucks too.
Yeah.
And they got a lot to figure out. That's what's so concerning about me is Cain comes on, and I bring up the offensive struggles, and it's like, well, Joe is Joe. But I think Joe's not been as bad as people act. I think – do you like just Joe Milton alone? Do you think he's been as bad as people are acting like he's been?
No, I don't, especially statistically. I'm going to say this one time, Boogie, and after that, I'm going to try not to say it again. People need to forget about last year. They need to forget about Hendon Hooker. He's a Detroit Lion now. Hendon's not coming back. I don't care how much we beg him, pay him, offer him, how much we cheat, lie, or steal. He's not coming back except to stand on the sidelines and encourage the rest of these guys. As you guys know, I've got a friend on the team. He doesn't start, but he's aware of the pulse of this team. And, excuse me, I texted him probably at a bad time and asked him if in his opinion, Joe Milton was the heartbeat of the team. Does Joe still have this team, or is he not a good leader? He hasn't answered me back yet. Might be scared to answer that because he knows I got a big mouth and I'm on the internet all the time. Is Joe Milton the heartbeat of this team? I don't know. You watch his press conference, he's Joe Cool. After the game, I don't know how long after the game, they're asking him questions, and he's acting like everything's okay. Maybe to those guys, everything is okay. But we're fans. The sky is falling. I've got the ceiling 2 feet above my head right now.
But the sky doesn't have to be falling for you to be pissed off, right? Like,
right.
When it's the post-game press conference and Joe's kind of bouncing around, and like, I want somebody that's pissed, man.
Yeah.
And like, I'm as competitive gets. And it's not because I love winning. It's because I freaking hate losing, man. I hate losing. I don't care if we're playing horse in the backyard or if it's a highly, competitive tournament of whatever. I don't care. I don't care if we're seeing who can spit the furthest. I'm going to try to beat you because I hate losing. It's not the thrill of victory. Like, if we win, Anytime I can talk about video games. When we had the online Madden League, man, I was so competitive in that. When I win, it wasn't a celebration, it was a relief. Thank God I didn't lose. So when the game's over, and that's talking about stupid stuff that means nothing. We're talking about football at the University of Tennessee. We got 311 people watching, 2 regular Joe Blows get on here and talk Tennessee football because we are all so passionate about this football team. We expect better things from Tennessee football. So when you're the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee, and it seems to be impacting me, and again, Joe behind the scenes may be the best leader we've ever had at the University of Tennessee. I have no idea. I'm just going by the eye test and what I see. He doesn't seem like he cares. Maybe he does, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this on the internet. That's just how I feel right now.
Well, you say it all the time. You're not media. I'm definitely not media. And even though you're closer to media than I am, I'm always going to say how I feel about these players. I don't cuss players anymore. I try not to talk bad about them anymore. But when I see something that's a terrible product on the field, I'm going to say something. That's just who I am. A lot of people don't like that. They'd rather see sunshine pumpers and media guys and all that. I'm
it's
sorry.
2023. If you and I aren't saying it on a microphone, it's going to be said on Twitter. It's going to be said.
It's going to be said on Twitter almost before it gets to the podium. I don't know where some of these people on Twitter are hiding, but they got the information, man, almost as soon as it comes from the horse's mouth. But anyway, I'm not okay. I am pissed about the game, mainly because I know how bad Florida is and how bad Florida's most likely going to be this year. They're not winning the SEC East. They're definitely not winning the SEC. But we got Florida fans on here running around, oh, Florida's going to win the SEC East. We're going to beat Georgia 38-20. You guys need to put the crack pipes down, man. Both of these teams have big problems. And I tried when I rewatched the game last night. No, I didn't take notes, mental notes. I suffered through that game again last night after our first drive, thinking, okay, is this Florida team really good? No, they're not. They got problems just like we do. Graham Mertz is not a good quarterback. We knew he was going to play like a Heisman contender against us, at least in that first half. But they're not a good team. And they'll be scratching, fighting, and clawing for second or third place in the East like us if something good doesn't happen soon. 3 games, Boogie. We're already 3 games into this season, and it drives me nuts when I hear people like Cain, and I love Cain, say it's a long season. No, it's not a long season. We're already halfway through high school football. We're a quarter of the way through the regular season in college football. We haven't seen a good Tennessee team on the field yet.
Yeah, but
Name me one game this year that anybody would consider good.
Virginia's the only game you can argue, and it's not good. It was just okay. Virginia was terrible.
Yeah.
Virginia was terrible. And that was all the conversations, right, the last couple of weeks. We didn't know what Tennessee was, and we weren't going to find out until they went down there to the swamp, and they laid an egg. So that's why
Yep.
Is the sky falling? No, I don't think the sky's falling, but maybe there's a crack in my ceiling, and it's starting to come down a little bit. We're probably going to find out sooner rather than later. Let me hit a couple super chats here. John Foster for 5. Appreciate that, brother. Just a tip in the tip jar. Just nothing to say. We appreciate that support. The Real Hank for $2 says, what we doing if UTSA beats us? Where does Joe go? And that's, man, to me, Cainer said it's going to have to be really bad for Nico. You go lose on Saturday to UTSA, this fan base is going to implode. Forget the calmness in the chat right now of Nico. It's going to be full-blown booze in the stadium. Every time Joe's name's announced, it's going to be Nico chants. Twitter's going to be a mob. It's going to be insanity. You go lose on – I don't expect Tennessee to lose. I expect Tennessee to bounce back against UTSA, and then we're going to have another test against South Carolina. I've sat here and ran my mouth all offseason about how Tennessee's going to go beat the brakes off of South Carolina. That's the next test. That's the next test now.
That's not happening, Boogie. I know most of our fans have been saying balls by 50 against South Carolina. I don't think that's happening. Yeah, I think we beat UTSA. We should. I think they're starting quarterbacks out. So here we are again seeing another team with probably a not good quarterback coming into Neyland Stadium. I don't want to see them scoring. I don't want to see him scoring 3 points, but I don't want to see them getting anywhere near the teens in points against us. I want our defense to crack back, clap back, whatever you want to call it, and get in their backfield and run their quarterback out of the stadium up into row QQ at Neyland Stadium. And I want us to get back to doing what we're supposed to be doing. I don't think this team's getting anywhere near a 40-point average this year scoring. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think so either. Crap, I hit the wrong button. I'm trying to find the Tennessee-South Carolina line right now. I'm curious to what that looks like. But, it goes back to what we talked about with, I think you just said, Hendon's gone. Like, we keep talking about Hendon. We knew so many of the conversations in the offseason where this offense is going to take a step back. We kind of expected that. I do think this football team can still run the football. And to make excuses, the offensive line, you can't be staring at 1st and 15 on 3 of your first 4 drives when Florida's going down the field and scoring at will. You got to be able to answer. You got to be able to respond. I still think this team can run the football, but they're not going to go out there and air it out and score 40 points. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that's who this team is. And the counterpoint to that was run the football, play a little defense. I thought maybe I bought into the fool's gold that Tennessee was going to have a decent defense. Their secondary was trash. They were trash against Austin Peay. I said it all week long last week that it concerned me that Austin Peay would throw those little bubble screens, and our secondary's running around like chickens with their head cut off. They look lost. It looked like backyard football where you got an 8th grader out there, and he's playing with all the neighborhood kids, and the 4th graders and 5th graders are running around trying to tackle him. And they have no clue how to take the right angles, how to wrap up. The broken tackles that Cain talked about, and this is straight from his article on BallQuest. I hit him up, and I was like, how do you get these numbers? From Pro Football Focus, they've missed 10-plus tackles in 2 of the first 3 games. This week, they missed 11. Kamal Hadden had 3 missed tackles. Let's see. Of course, one of them came on ETN's touchdown. Wesley Walker missed 3 tackles. Elijah Herring, Jalen McCullough, Gabe Judy Lawley, Tamarian McDonald, Ricky Gibson also missed tackles. You got to get back to the fundamentals of football. Coach Jay, he's an old defensive coach. He said his team's going to suffer today because of the way Tennessee tackled on Saturday. They need to go hit each other. They need to go line up. They should have got off the plane Sunday and walked straight to the practice field. Don't even put your damn pads on and just go play backyard football and hit each other. You need more contact.
I wouldn't have even waited that long. I'd have them after the post-game speech. I'd have made them get back out on Florida Field and start tackling some of those idiots out there on the field. I mean,
do you think, I don't know how much they tackle in practice. I have no idea. But it's like MMA. You can't, it is a violent sport. CTE is real. I get it. Trauma to the head is real. So you got 2 options. Either let's get rid of the game and be done with it, or say every single one of these people is signing up to participate in this sport. They are signing up to participate in this fight. If you're going to fight, if we're going to have a fight on Saturday, guess what I'm going to be doing leading up to it? I'm going to be sparring. I'm going to be seeing live action. Because you can't fake it. You can't fake fighting. You can hit pads all day, but guess what? You can hit a heavy bag. It don't have arms and legs. It don't fire back at you like another man does. It's the same thing in football. I don't know how much they tackle in practice. You can roll a wheel around all day long. How much do you think it impacts it that these teams are out there diving and tackling a tackling dummy or a stupid wheel or whatever it is? You got to line up, pile up, hit each other, and be physical. It's a violent game. You're going to have to deal with that.
I pretty much agree with you there, but I still think tackling dummies, tackling the rolling wheels, all the things, tackling barrels, all the stuff they do in practice still teaches you to put your arms around the guy you're trying to tackle and bring his butt to the ground. And I've never in the history of time seen a football practice where they set a tackling dummy up and they tell the defender to come. It's okay. Come over here and hit him with your shoulder. Never. That never happens, and that's what Kamal Hadden does. When is it time? And he's the one that always sticks out in my mind because it always seems like he's the one I see screwing up on the field. When's it time to put him on the bench? I mean, do we not have anybody better? We don't know. Me and you don't know. I don't know if the coaches know or not. There's got to be somebody on that field that can make a dang tackle.
It goes back to the same conversation with Nico. And I know the quarterback is spotlighted and everybody talks about it. Same thing with the secondary. You got Ricky Gibson on the bench, true freshman, really talented kid. Is he ready? Do you want to throw a true freshman out there? It's the same conversation on defense that it is on offense. You got 3 really good young corners: Christian Conyer, Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson. Gibson's the one that's kind of getting some run right now. Danico Slaughter didn't play on Saturday. He's down there on the field in street clothes. Was he in street clothes or was he dressed out? I can't remember.
I saw the locker room with him on the show, and he talked about not playing. So I would imagine he was in street clothes, but I'm not positive. It doesn't matter. He didn't play.
Yeah, didn't play. A couple super chats here. Real Hank for $2. What about if Joe has another Austin P game Saturday? What you doing? I'm going to get on here and freak out and yell and scream because that would be 2 out of the 4 games. There's a difference between execution and other factors, right? Play calling, offensive line play. What pissed me off about the Austin P game, it was simple execution from Joe. It's pitch and catch. It's throwing the football. I thought he's been accurate since then. I think that's the one game this season where he's really struggled with accuracy. And I know people talking about, the shot to Squirrel late that was overthrown. That's not an easy throw. You're not hitting 100% of those deep balls in the back corner of the end zone like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, the throw to Squirrel down the sideline on the first drive was money. The fade to Ramel Keaton was money. The deep ball to Brew McCoy was money. I thought Joe was accurate with the football. So what will I do, Hank? I will be upset. So get ready for that. John Foster for 10. Appreciate that, brother. Says, I have settled for losing big games, and I can only hope for competition until Milton or Heupel proves otherwise. We are back in the 2015 era as far as I'm concerned. You know what? Let's see. Let me see what this other super chat says.
Battered ball syndrome.
Let me hit this super chat, then we'll come back to that point from John because it's interesting. Battered ball syndrome is exactly what it is. RS for $10, thank you for the super chat. What about this? At best, Joe can go out and play without the stress of being perfect because we all know that UT is a hard place to play. Hendon didn't have that same pressure at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, of course pressure's higher, but pressure's high regardless because, like you said, you're playing starting quarterback for the University of Tennessee. The expectations were higher, right? Because of what Josh Heupel and this football team did a year ago. This year, that's why people in the chat, going into the season, we're talking about 12 wins and all this type of stuff. And I thought 9-3 was a solid season. We need to stick to that. We need to understand that they're taking a step back this year. Do they get better next year? We got to see. We're really going to have to see how they do in the portal. The offensive line is bad this year. It's going to be awful next year unless they get some really quick development or they jump into the portal. Pit Boss for 2 says, Dorfy, appreciate that, Pit Boss. Let's go back to John's comment, talking about 2015. This is the biggest battered VAWLS syndrome statement I've ever made, and I've said it multiple times on the channel, but I'll let you kind of dive in on it here. What saved Butch Jones's time in Knoxville for the longest time? Who? What player? What single player?
Josh Dobbs.
He extended Butch Jones's career. He saved Butch Jones because he was one of those special type of players that, we talk about Hendon, how he could put the team on his back and go win a football game. That's the way Josh Dobbs was. So Hendon
What's
Hooker,
Josh Dobbs doing right now, Boogie?
playing in the NFL, right?
Exactly.
Hendon Hooker, you could say, let's maybe fast forward 20 years from now, we're looking back on this and we're on our 18th coach in that amount of time. Was Hendon Hooker that guy for Josh Heupel? Now, I don't truly believe that because I truly think that Josh Heupel is a great coach. I think he knows how to develop the quarterback position. I think he's in a strange situation where he's got a 6-year senior and a golden-armed 5-star freshman sitting on the bench. That is a difficult situation to handle. Battered Ball Syndrome says Hendon Hooker saved Josh Heupel last year.
Saved in year 2? I mean...
Not saved, but I'm comparing it to Butch because Hendon Hooker elevated what Heupel wants to do on offense because he was that special of a player. Do we have another one on the bench? I don't know. Again, I know that's left field, man. I don't truly believe that, but that is Battered Fall Syndrome 101.
Well, I mean, we're eat up with it right now, at least coming from other fans. I mean, there's a lot of fans out there that think we're going to be forever in the midst of battered ball syndrome. I don't believe that. I mean, this program is too proud. I think we've got the right guy now. Maybe it's still too early to say. It's year 3, and I don't care what year it is on earth. It still takes time to turn a program as bad as Tennessee was around. And a lot of us might have gotten a little bit spoiled with last year. No, well, we have gotten spoiled. because that set the expectations through the roof.
Hold on, I have to
Yeah.
say something because this is what happens on the internet. Kai Johnson, we're not coming for hype. Hey, take a breath, brother. Take a breath. I was making a statement. That is not what I believe. People like to take that and run to the internet and say Boogie Bentley compared Josh Heupel to Butch Jones. No, take a breath. We talk for 20 hours a week on the internet. It's a statement. It's a comment. Is all it is. It's not my belief. Take a deep breath. I'm sorry, BBD. This has been a horrible week for me. I've been attacked from every angle possible, so I'm shutting that one down before it gets out there. Go ahead.
Oh, well, you're not the only person that's getting attacked. I mean, our
It comes
fan
with the
base,
territory. Comes with the
right,
territory.
right. Our fan base and us, we're getting attacked from the non-Tennessee fan base
Sure.
way more than our battered ball guys. I don't know if I'm still in BBS or not. I would like to think that given what all's happened to me this past year, coming through that and just being able to be part of this football season and watch Tennessee again and see everything that's going on in college football right now, and a lot of it's not good. There's a lot of teams out there right now that are right with us, already got one loss, and now struggling to stay in the top 25. And I personally don't care where we're ranked right now because it doesn't matter till the end of the year. It is what it is. Don't you hate that saying? But that's true. It is what it is. We're 2-1. We haven't seen a good product on the field yet. We may not see a good product on the field this Saturday, and South Carolina might come in here and beat us again. They're not going to beat us. If they do, it ain't going to be like last year, because I still say that was their Super Bowl, best game they've ever played in the history of that school. So I think we all need to just calm down a little bit, take a deep breath, and say, let's go get this UTSA team. My biggest struggle right now is trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to go to this game or not, because I got tickets. I have tickets available to me if I want to go, but they're up in section QQ. And for somebody like me, unless they go over there and sit in the handicap section, I ain't making it up to QQ. So what do you, should I go watch some of this in person or what? I don't know.
Some people would tell you that it's time for Nico, and maybe you could see him come in and take over and win the starting job, and you're there for history and you were a part of it. Me personally, sometimes I miss going to the games. Obviously, I don't do it anymore because of the post-game shows. Sometimes I miss it. I'll tell you what I didn't like was having season tickets. By the end of the year, I'm like, okay, I got to drive an hour and a half. I got to spend all this money. It's like, man, I'm just tired of the process. It is an all-day deal. Driving down there, going to the game, driving home, the traffic. QQ is the worst section in the stadium, Brad. It is the worst section in the entire stadium. That's why the tickets are usually the cheapest. Don't
It's
you
not
come
bad.
at me with that. There's there's really
no,
not a bad
I
seat
meant
in
to
Neyland.
say it's not good.
But there's really not a bad seat in Neyland, but it's probably the corners are the worst, obviously, in any stadium. It's not just
Oh,
Neyland,
yeah,
it's
you
just a
can't
general.
see.
Yeah. RS for 5, thank you for the super chat. One more thing. We have to hold the Vols down like Texas fans have done and FSU fans have done. Our time is coming. Look, man, we have been through the highest and highs and the lowest of lows. I don't think we're going anywhere. I know I speak for BVD in that. We've lived through the dark days. If Josh Heupel turns out to not be the guy, guess what? We'll be right here covering the coaching search for the next guy, and we'll believe in him until he gives us reason to not believe in him. And that's kind of where I'm at with this football team as a whole right now is, you know, the first test was Florida. You failed the test. You failed that test. So how do you respond? You know, that's something me and Cain talked about at the top of the show. You're dealing with adversity. And sometimes when you talk about sports and life in general, people say adversity and it gets overused, but that's what this is. You're dealing with adversity. Now, how does the seniors on this team, how does a 6-year senior in Joe Milton, how do they respond? How do they bounce back? What does practice look like this week? Josh Heupel's pissed, and that makes me happy. I loved seeing him full of piss and vinegar after the game. People criticized him saying, oh, he was chewing gum. Who cares what he was doing? He was mad.
Yeah.
I could not care less that he was chewing gum. Does not matter. I'm just glad that he's pissed.
What
How
does
do they
what does
respond
that
against
even
UTSA?
mean, Boogie?
I don't
why,
know.
why would that even piss people off?
I don't know.
I mean,
I guess similar
Josh
would be,
Heupel was chewing gum. He don't care.
it's like, well, I really don't even understand what that statement was about, but it was
Yeah.
all over the place. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But Tennessee, I pulled up the ESPN FPI, favored by 20 points against UTSA. 3-touchdown favorite, basically. 86.4% odds to win based on the ESPN FPI, which doesn't always mean everything. But again, Vegas has them favored by 20. Of course, Vegas had them favored to beat Florida, too. We saw how that worked out. But I think you're seeing that Tennessee obviously is the better team. So many people call this a trap game. Funny how things play out, right? Oh, it's going to be a trap game. UTSA is really good. I got so sick of hearing that in the offseason. If they don't respond against UTSA, a big red flag is going up for me. What about you? What if they come out and lay an egg against UTSA? Win the game, similar to the way they won the Austin Peay game. Lack of execution. Joe Milton struggles, but they go out and they get the win because they got better talent. You going to be pissed? You going to be concerned?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's just the ball fan in me. Boogie, there's been games in the past where we were up 45 or 50, and we're driving late in the game with our third stringers, and we get down to the 10-yard line and take a knee. I'm pissed off going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I hope it doesn't happen. I hope not everybody on that team has the cool, nonchalant, chewing gum approach that Joe Milton took after the game, because it was totally different than what we saw from Coach Heupel. Okay, so he was chewing gum. He had a scraggly beard, and he looked like Chumlee up there talking about a bad sale on Pawn Stars. Well, it was a bad sale on Pawn Stars. I'm with you 100%. I'm glad he's pissed, and I hope those kids are already up. Well, it's 10 o'clock. Yeah, they're already up. I hope they were up at 6:30 this morning or 5:30 or whenever, and running over to the practice field and getting some tackling fuel, because that's what they need. Tackling fuel. Damn it, learn how to run into somebody, and instead of leaning into them with your shoulder, wrap up. It's not that hard. They teach you that the first day of Pee Wee if you're a defensive player. And Kamal Hadden doesn't get it. Well, not just him, but we're going to win this game. I don't know if we're going to cover. Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this is the day Joe comes and balls out. But it's going to depend on that offensive line. And right now, they're not good. Ollie Lane was a poop show this weekend.
I'm starting to wonder if Tony Basilio's right, and Cooper Mays isn't coming back until October. Because
It's looking like it, because, are they going to do this every week? Well, he's ready. He took reps in practice today. What does that mean, he took reps in practice?
Did he
Does
stretch?
that mean he ran a couple of sprints and stretched?
Yeah.
And
sometimes Basilio runs with stuff and he's spot on, and sometimes he runs with stuff and he's way off. So that's a problem with somebody like that, is you never know what you're going to get. Whereas,
how much access does he have to practice?
I have no idea, but I would imagine a guy like that's been around so long, I would imagine that he's got, sources and contact. That's the thing. That's the difference between the fan approach like us. Like, there's nobody that I can pick up the phone and call that is on the staff or inside the building. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen. The only time we got lucky was when a Tennessee high school coach that had a connection to JP got to attend a scrimmage and came on here with his camera off and told us what he saw in that scrimmage that was only allowed, people that were at the coach's clinic got to see it. That's some sketchy business right there, getting that guy on. So, yeah, we can't pick up the phone and call somebody. Papa J, are you in a bad mood? Papa J's in a bad mood, and it hurts my feelings, man. He is so mad in the chat. He's going on about players' meetings, and he's saying, who cares? He's talking about chewing gum.
He's right about that. Who cares about chewing gum?
I'm with him on that, but you can tell Papa J's in a bad mood. Let's see. $5 super chat from Nate Pruitt. There's a difference, though, Boogie, in laying an egg losing and laying an egg not showing improvement. Can we win the game and yet still take a loss? 100%. And that's what I was kind of saying there with that question. I'm not just saying if they go lose to UTSA. I'm saying they go out and look like they did against Austin Peay, still get a win. I'm still coming out of that game with no expectations to beat South Carolina at that point. And, again, that's a team that I've been saying all offseason Tennessee's going to take care of. Like, way more concerned about Florida than I was South Carolina. But now as we move forward, and I got it pulled up, they don't have a spread on the South Carolina game yet. ESPN FPI still has Tennessee at 66.6% chance of winning that game. So it's interesting to me to see how those numbers, and I know, numbers and percentages and the AI and all that stuff isn't everything, but it's interesting to see how that slides and moves and adjusts the more we get into it, because Tennessee was favored to win every game outside of Georgia and Alabama. Is that going to shift? Is that going to move if Tennessee goes out and struggles this week against UTSA? But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Got a busy week coming up. Somebody asked me about the no discipline comment. Going to be making a video on that. It's going to be coming out a little bit later today, so make sure you catch that. Tomorrow night, NCAA night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Laid back, hanging out, talking Tennessee football with you guys all night long. Wednesday, we're adjusting the schedule for BVD. So instead of going live at noon, we're going live at 11. So at 11 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, BVD Sports Talk Jay will be in the house right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. We'll come back and do another live stream later that night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Myself and Coach Jay. Friday morning at 9:30, we're doing the tailgate show on Saturday, an hour before kick, and then immediately going live after the game as always. Go check out BVD tomorrow. He'll be interviewing Coach Heupel. He's got him locked up in the bedroom next door. Heupel's trying to escape, but BVD put him in his place. So make sure you go sub up BVD on Twitter, Big Vol Daddy, and check out that interview tomorrow. Anything else going on, BVD?
That's pretty much it. I got my normal streams this week. Looking forward to the Wednesday stream with you and Sports Talk Jay. I normally stream on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, but Greenville plays a weird game at 7 o'clock tomorrow, so I may stream tonight. I may stream Wednesday. I'm not sure after you. But yeah, you guys come over, give me a sub. It's getting fun on my channel now. We had a great panel last night, and a lot of people don't like watching Sunday nights because I got an Alabama fan on the show with me, but he's objective, and it's good talk between two old SEC rivals that have a game coming up soon. So yeah, appreciate that, you guys. Thanks for showing Boogie all the support you do. When you're showing Boogie support, you're showing me support, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Boogie, and we'll see you somewhere soon before Wednesday, I'm sure.
Well, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Don't forget, video coming later today, so be on the lookout for that, probably here in a few hours. So we'll get that out. But that is going to do it. He's BBD. I'm Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
That we charge.